pray for peace. No more rockets from Gaza and no more bombs falling down on the people of Gaza. God protect the children. God protect children. Let's end all the horror and all the heartbreak in the Holy Land. Let's end all of it. Let's end all of it. But I'll be honest in closing. When I think about what's happening over there, I don't feel powerful to do something about what's happening over there. What I do feel powerful is to maybe do something about what's happening here. Let's take a stand here against anti-Jewish bigotry. Let's take a stand against Muslims. Let's take a stand here against hatred. Let's take a stand here against hatred of all kinds. I don't want.
Seems like that was Van Jones. I'm not sure if they were they booing, jeering him. I'm not sure whether I don't even know why. Why was he on the speaker thing? I'm not sure why he was.
Well, he's been called all kinds of names on social media today. Not kind names, as you can imagine. And apparently the crowd was chanting as he was calling for peace, no ceasefire. And I think that, as you said, Karen, people have a right to protest any way they choose. They have a right to say their lives matter. And I think, we've been clear every time I've been on your show these last couple of weeks, we do not support violence against anyone. We don't want to see anyone getting hurt. That includes folks who were the victims on October 7th, but it also includes what has happened since then. We're talking about 1,300 people, Israelis, folks who were killed, in southern Israel, but now we're talking over 11,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip, and over 4,600 of them are children. And so, it's interesting. The last couple of days, I've had powerful meetings with my Jewish folks, Jewish family members, Jewish folks who I love dearly, and they expressed privately their concern. And one of the things that stuck out to me was that never again should mean never again for all people. In other words, we have to learn the lessons of history. We can't keep repeating the same lessons over and over again. And, Netanyahu just said last week that, the end game is they're going to be there. We don't know what's going to happen in that landmass that they call Gaza Strip, all 25 miles of it. But we do know that this is not something that's going to lead to what some people have been calling for, which is a ceasefire, not a humanitarian pause. People have been calling for a two-state solution. I don't know if that's going to happen given what's happening now. And are seeds being planted for more unrest going forward for future generations because of what we're seeing now? And so I think this is a conversation that people have to have willingly, honestly about it. And, I'm on the side of peace. I'm on the side of love. I'm on the side of nonviolence. I come from the school of Baldwin and Dr. King and folks like that, and what Malcolm evolved into at the end of his life. We have to have conversations, but we have to be willing to have difficult conversations and ask ourselves what kind of world do we want to see. And I don't know, the Van Jones is a whole nother conversation. That's a separate show. I know Van.
Yeah, we're not going to have that today. We're not going to have the Van Jones conversation today.
Yeah.
I just bring him up because I actually literally had this conversation today with somebody as I'm mapping out 2024, 2025 and beyond, and in terms of how I'm going to engage in the things I'm going to put into the universe. And, a lot of us, you included, we make our money, doing books or speaking. In your case, I'm on the radio, but this radio is about the advertise. I only make money on advertising. I'm not on salary. The only place I'm on salary is teaching. And so decisions are made for many of us who don't have an economy that's steady, meaning every 2 weeks or every month you're getting a check. And you know what that check is, so you can budget your life. No matter how much goodness you put in, a lot of decisions are made because of financials, right? And a lot of decisions are made. I was just having this conversation with Clay and Larry today, was powerful. And I recognized something. I asked Clay a question that was like, "Oh, I've not been asked that before," and he had to really sit in it. But it's amazing to me as somebody that comes out of abundance, did not grow up in poverty, did not grow up ever worrying about a meal or anything, didn't ever think like about college and how it would pay for it, never had to think about anything, right? that I am extremely blessed and fortunate to have had a life of abundance, to understand that the world is abundant, and that you can create, your own way through serving people, but not in a silly way, meaning like you got to pay attention to, crossing your T's and dotting your I's and making sure that you plan for your future self. Like I'm planning for 99-year-old Karen, and I've been planning for 99-year-old Karen for the last 10 years. She's good. She's going to be good. She ain't eating cat food. She ain't going to be under nobody. Ain't nobody going to be beating on her. You know what I'm saying? But that's how far in advance I look. But it's also because I have this sense of what should it look like? Which means, what do I want my life to look like, and plan from there. I say all of this to say, Kevin, that, as we sit in this space, we have to kind of figure out some things, and, having this conversation around leadership and people. There are corporations that let themselves off the hook by giving money to certain people because they inherently know those people will never hold them accountable. And those checks come with an agreement that I'm going to give you this money, but you better not put me, I can't be in your crosshairs ever. So you'll see these organizations honor some of the most egregious people in corporate America because they've gotten a big check. So that check gives people coverage, right? Which is why I'm very always careful about who's getting money. Van Jones got $100 million. What is expected of him for that money? I want to have a conversation with you today about hip hop. You're also doing something with Hip Hop 50. I'm gonna slow down a little bit because I've been wanting to have this conversation for a minute. And even how we engage with people based on how much money they have, like, what is the money doing? Like, to me, I can't even, I'm like, if you're rocking labels, I don't know, Mr. Louis, I know Bernard Arnault. I don't know. Is he building libraries? Is he doing schools in our community? Is he helping people with like, what is he doing? But we feel very good with the passing, the Hennessy and the LV and the, like we put labels on our bodies, people who've been branded historically and rep colors and names that have not put anything back into the soil of our humanity. Right. And then we support leadership that literally have taken money, made deals behind doors, have access to power, and have done nothing with that. I don't see Adam Clayton Powell out there today, who was a complicated figure, but damn it, if you were in Harlem, you knew Adam Clayton Powell had your back, okay? Period. Which is why there's streets and whole buildings named for him. That man was about that life.
I need to say this. I think that if we're talking specifically about Black leadership, what has happened to Black leadership is, or what is positioned in front of us oftentimes as Black leadership, is a spineless, cowardly, compromising, status hungry kind of voice that could care less about Black people, whether we're talking about upper class, middle class, or working class Black folks. What they care about is fame and money and access for themselves. We've gone from thinking about us to just my own personal thing, me. And we don't need to call any names. All we got to do is look at the behavioral patterns that you're describing of people who are put out there as voices for us. And all you got to do is go to social media and look at the responses to these people, as we're talking about today, and see that folks are not, people see what's going on. They're like, no, this is not acceptable. That doesn't mean that Black people are pro violence against any people. No. We're just saying, hey, can we actually have a conversation where we're engaged in a conversation, not someone being handpicked for us just because they're a Black face and put out there to speak on behalf of us? Who else? I mean, what other community does that happen to?
None. And this is,
I don't even know who the leaders are of the Chinese American community. New York Times Magazine had an article years ago that talked about how we don't even know who the leaders are of the Chinese American community. But here's why Chinatowns exist all around the country. Here's why economic commerce around the country. You know what I mean? And so I think this is something that we got to think about, because what has happened since the era of Dr. King and Malcolm X, and ironically, my wife and I are going to see the Malcolm X opera tonight. We got blessed with some tickets. Praise God. You know what I'm saying? And when you think about Dr. King, Malcolm X, Faneuil Hamer, Ella Baker, women and men, different Bayard Rustin, my brother Coleman Domingo's playing him in a film that's out right now that people need to see called Rustin. And they're saying that this brother is giving a dynamic performance in this film. You know, they were not interested in being celebrities, Karen. They were not interested in being famous. They were interested in doing what you're doing, which is the work of service for the community, for the people. A lot of these folks today, some of them have African names. Some of them have Islamic names. Some of them have names like our names. You know, some of them are Democrats, some of them are Republicans, some of them independents. They are interested in being like celebrities. They're celebrity activists.
Yeah.
That's what they are. And that's dangerous to our communities. And it, unfortunately, when you see this stuff happening, it makes it impossible to have a sensitive conversation, a multi-layered conversation about what is happening between Israelis and Palestinians and how does it affect Black folks in America when you got folks out there who are just jumping out because they're told to jump and how high to jump, as opposed to the kind of nuanced conversations we've had on your show in previous episodes.
Yes.
You know, what Black
and
folks
I would normally,
and Jewish folks.
Not that I would normally be quiet because I'm rarely quiet, but I feel like it's important for us to have these conversations because the average person doesn't know. You see somebody on TV enough, then you think that they are doing the work, right? Yeah. But I'm in a space where I see the damage of people not advocating, but having access. And what corporations have been able to do is check the box. Oh, I talked to so-and-so, and I just gave $1 million to this XYZ organization. So I don't really have to do anything else because I already gave money. I already gave 10 million. I already gave 10 million to this organization. I don't have to do anything else. And this person has told me, you know, that we're good. So la 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 la. Now I'm on a list somewhere that says I'm in with diversity and inclusion, and communities are still suffering. So I'm like, yo, somebody's got. I'm gonna start naming names too, very soon because it's time. It's time. Kevin Powell is here. 866-801-8255. Not to denigrate any individual, but to say, as people, we need to know that if these folks have been selected to represent us, what are they representing? And to Kevin's point, this ain't even about this march or anything else. It's about being able to hold power accountable. And this is what we've had, people held accountable. And then those same people died penniless. So I get that too. Like they're also probably in their mind saying, King died penniless. Even hell, name a leader died penniless, broken. Yes. And they're like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to go get my check. And then maybe they tell themselves, after I get the money, I'm going to hold them accountable. But that money's corruptible. I mean, it corrupts you, right? It's very hard for you to hold somebody accountable that's giving you a big check. It's very hard for you to say, okay, you know what? You're doing some bad things over here. Which is what, anyway, I'm going to say
what we need. Right.
Kevin Powell is here.
What we need are truth tellers in these times more than ever, not people who are just going to go along with the truth that is presented to them, but they're actually going to have the courage to tell the truth for all of us. And that's what we need.
Yeah, more of them. Many. Everybody should be telling the truth. It shouldn't just be one or two. Like that should be like due north. That's a lie. Wait a minute. So we're going to talk about hip hop today. This is where I wanted to go. But before we do, Kevin Powell, I want to take you back because there was a time when Van Jones, and I'm singling him out because he was on the stage. And I remember him early on in the Obama administration. He got hemmed up a little bit. Maybe something happened when he got hemmed up with the energy company, and maybe somebody sat him down and had a conversation with him. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe there was a blood sacrifice. I don't know what happened, but there was a time when he was different. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a function of maturity. I don't know. But I'm going to play a clip, and this is music from 2003. He had an album. I don't know if it was Grammy nominated, but it was entitled War Times, Reports from the Opposition. He recorded with Mumia Abu-Jamal. Free Mumia. Play clip 4. This is Van Jones.
No borders, wherever they're human beings. It's important for human rights activists to show support and to show solidarity. And what we want to see at this point is the rights of the Palestinian people being respected. And at this point, the end of the occupation, the right of return for Palestinian people, these are the critical dividing lines, global dividing line questions of human rights. We have to be here. No American would put up with an Israeli-style occupation of their hometown for 53 days, let alone 54 years. We see violence against poor people and poor people of color within the U.S. border, at the U.S. border, and beyond the U.S. border. And you see U.S. tax dollars funding all of it. And so we have, this now global struggle against a U.S.-led security apparatus and military agenda that impacts people here and impacts people around the world. And I think that we need to see our problems as linked.
All right, Van Jones, thank you very much.
Kevin Powell, Grammy nominated.
It's a completely different person. And I know Van,
what happened?
I have no idea what happened. I have no idea what happened. Just seems like a very completely different person. But this is also someone who's become an apologist for Donald Trump, among other things over the last couple of years. Bell Hooks used to say to me, Karen, all the time, that we got to be very careful of becoming addicted to the fame plantation, because when you become addicted to the fame plantation, then all of a sudden you need to have gimmicks or things that you will do that are out of the nature of who you should be or who you are to stay out there. You start doing stuff. In other words, she was saying you start to perform and start doing a dance, that is not you or should not be you. And I just wonder about people like that when you see this, doesn't mean that people can't change their positions. We see it happen all the time. I mean, as I'm listening to people talk about Van Jones, I mean, that happened to Eldridge Cleaver. That happened to Julius Lester from the Civil Rights Movement. There's plenty of examples of that. And it's not even just about, moving from left to right. It's not about left, right, anything like that. It's just, how do you go from talking about justice for all people to not talking about justice for all people? Because, if you ask me, I'm consistent. I'm like, I believe in justice for all people. I believe in empowerment for all people, freedom for all people, equality for all people. And I certainly am looking at things through my lens as a Black American person, but I also have the ability to connect, to participate what Kimberly Crenshaw calls intersectionality. But when you start to repeat the things that have been said to you by other people, and you don't no longer sound like you are speaking for yourself, that's when you become very dangerous and problematic. And when people start saying things, then the name calling erupts, people calling you a sellout and Uncle Tom. These are things I'm looking at right now on social media. These are the things that people are saying about Van Jones, over and over again. Here he goes, because people consider that he's been paid off, that he's been bought, and Dr. King and Malcolm X are incredible examples of Black leadership, because they both had integrity throughout the entire 39 years each of their lives. You don't have to agree with everything Malcolm X was about, everything Dr. King was about, but it's indisputable, I believe, even with their personal journeys, their personal contradictions, that they had a deep love for Black people, and that was manifested in the things that they said and did. And we look at Dr. King, he literally sacrificed the financial livelihood of the Civil Rights Movement, as you know, Karen, at the end when he came out against the Vietnam War. People called him unpatriotic. They called him crazy. They said he was out of his lane. We talked about this in one of your last episodes with Dr. Daniel Black. Shout out to Dr. Black. They said all these things, but Dr. King understood sometimes you have to take a position that's not comfortable. And at the end of the day, he was actually right about the Vietnam War. He was right about, America being the biggest purveyors of violence. He was right about how we were sending poor whites and poor Blacks to fight poor Asian people in a place called Vietnam. He was talking about bringing people together, a poor people's campaign, a rainbow coalition of folks. How about economic justice? How about let's figure out ways that we can come together? And people were mad at him for that, but he was telling the truth. And until we have someone who has the courage to link all these different things together, the way Dr. King did, the way Malcolm did, the way Bayard Rustin did, and others, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, that's the kind of Black leadership we actually need, which Black leadership ultimately means the kind of American leadership and kind of global leadership we need, where we can speak truth to power about oppression in any form, but at the same time say, here's the vision I have for the world as well. Not just, come on and give a speech that's kind of reinforcing stuff that is not actually moving the needle at all for humanity nor this country.
Come on, Kevin Powell, Grammy nominated, Grocery Shopping with My Mother. The album, get it now, available everywhere, in the book. As you're talking, somebody in the Nubia chat said, does Kevin consider himself a leader? And I said, it doesn't matter what Kevin considers himself. I consider him a leader, the way I consider everyone listening to my voice a leader. We are all leaders. The fact is, when Kevin pointed out, I don't know who's leading Korea America. They seem to be understanding some things. The folk that lead the Sikhs that are controlling the trucking industry, somehow they figured out some stuff. Chinatown, like you said, Kevin, everywhere. And you go any big city, there's a Chinatown. Who led that? Who led that charge? I don't know. I don't even know who the Latino leaders are, the Hispanic leaders. I can't name them. It's not Eva Longoria. Bad Bunny. It's not Bad Bunny or Eva Longoria. I can tell you that, even though she has used her platform as an activist, but they're not the ones in the room making decisions or the ones being picked. So why us? And is it because we were picked on auction blocks? I'm not sure. Branded, which is why we're comfortable with the brands and being picked. I don't know, Kev. Let's talk about this. 866-801-8255.
I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one who loves thing is the one